As we approach All In, the biggest event in AEW history, unprecedented events have happened. As hated heel and the devil himself, MJF has become beloved by the audience. But how did this happen? How did the most hated heel in all of professional wrestling become so loved by the audience that he's made fun of for years? Well, there's only 3 words that can tell you that. Adam Cole Baby. Welcome to the Wrestling Universe channel. My name is Cosk, and today we are talking about the brilliance of the MJF and Adam Cole story. But to understand the significance of this storyline, we have to look at what MJF and Adam Cole were doing before this story. Let's start off with MJF. MJF was probably doing the better of the two, and in my opinion, I still enjoyed his work. I will always enjoy MJF work. I think what he does is incredible. But he had one of the most mixed storylines that he's had with the 4 Pillar story. It was one which some liked, but there were a fair amount of people who did not like it. It was one of the least liked MJF stories I've seen, especially since it was a main event world title story. The only real saving grace that I feel everybody agreed was great from that story was the match, the last match between them, the 4-way, which was, in my opinion, chef's kiss, fantastic. And then we move on to Adam Cole. Adam Cole is a very interesting case here because he came back from injury after quite, again, a mixed run, probably not reaching the expectations a lot of people had for him in AEW. And he went into a feud with Chris Jericho. And, the content of the feud, I keep using the word mixed, but that's really the best way to describe it. It wasn't like hated by the world, but there were quite a lot of critics for it. It wasn't universally loved, which is something that you'd expect from Adam Cole's return feud. It was quite weird at times with the random return of Sabu for some reason. I guess ECW nostalgia. And then they had a match at the pay-per-view, and it was the most boring match that you'd imagine for a grudge match. It ended so abruptly. It didn't really feel like it accomplished anything. They had a mixed tag match the week after, which was also kind of meh. So that feud really left Adam Cole kind of in need for something. And a lot of people already wrote off Adam Cole's run in AEW as a failure. But this story saved that. This story saved Adam Cole's career in AEW. This story brought MJF's career to new heights. A story at its best is supposed to be compelling TV, which brings both wrestlers up. And this has brought Adam Cole up to levels he has not been in AEW in his entire career there so far. And this has brought MJF to levels that he hasn't really been at since, I'd argue, the Punk feud. So what about the storyline is so great? How is it bringing MJF to new levels? How is it bringing Adam Cole to new levels? Well, I think the best way to really describe it is this storyline every single step of the way has adverted your expectations. Let me explain. When you think of an MJF versus Adam Cole feud, before it would happen, you would think, oh, okay, these guys, they're going to have promo battles every week, they're going to face off in a super heated story, and that sounds good. That sounds good. I would have been a fan of that. I would have thought it was great. But what they did, in my opinion, is even better. They adverted your expectations all the way. You start off the story. They started off the story with what you'd expect. A promo battle, a great promo battle, and then they immediately adverted your expectations by putting MJF, Adam Cole in an eliminator match next week. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a pessimistic guy sometimes. And I was complaining on Twitter. I was talking about how this is bad, how this is not the way it's supposed to go. And I was like, I was willing to give it a chance, but I wasn't having it. I didn't think that this was the way to go. I felt the appeal of the storyline was to build up to the match. Fast forward to next week. They have a match. It's great. Ends in a time limit draw. Adam Cole says 5 more minutes. MJF says no. They move on to the next week, already adverting my expectations with that 5 more minutes storyline, which I thought was a really good direction to go, although I still was a bit cautiously optimistic, I'd say. And then, after a heated promo between them, they're announced for the tag title eliminator tournament. And this is where the story gets interesting. We would go on to see these vignettes every week. MJF, he wants to, get along with his tag team partner. And they have these bro sessions. They start off heated. And as the weeks go on, they start to become friends. They start to win in their matches. They start to have these double team moves, especially the double clothesline. And this would all lead, after some very fun vignettes, after some very fun matches, to MJF and Adam Cole versus FTR, after they would win the tournament. This is where everyone thought the feud was going to take the natural progression to become the heated feud that we'd expect. For MJF to turn on Adam Cole, like we've expected from the start. Or not from the start, because no one expected them to become friends, but from the start of the story of them becoming friends. They advert your expectations so much times I have to clarify. And great match. FTR win at the end of the match when it looks like MJF is about to take out Adam Cole. They hug it out. Once again, adverting your expectations in a moment that made someone like me who loves friendship very happy. We move on to a promise, or I guess we move back in time. We're gonna take a look back in time. MJF would make a promise to Adam Cole, win, lose or draw, he is giving him a world title shot. They go to a segment on Dynamite, a very important segment. MJF, he's talking about his history of getting bullied, getting cheated on, and how he had to become this bad guy to stop people from hurting him. And he is beloved by the fans. He says that he's going to be their scumbag. He becomes the most beloved guy in the company thanks to this story. Something which I never thought I would say at the start of this story. Then Adam Cole comes out, and MJF gives him the match at Wembley Stadium. A controversial decision. I'm not going to pretend that this one's perfect. I'm hopeful because I've had so much I've had so much doubts about this storyline that at this point I'm going to let it play out. I'm going to see what the ending is, because they've always exceeded my expectations. They've always adverted what I've expected to be expected to be the next plot in the story, the next point, which for an analytical thinker like I am, who thinks he knows everything, is very surprising and very refreshing. So, Adam Cole accepts the match, Wembley Stadium, MJF versus Adam Cole, not two heated rivals main eventing your stadium show, but two best friend babyfaces. But what about the storyline makes it so brilliant? How is the storyline captivating so many people? How did it turn the most hated heel into the most beloved babyface? How did it bring Adam Cole's career from the lows that they were in to the highs that they're in now? from probably the lowest point of his AEW career with that Jericho match to the best run he's had in the company. I think it's the creativity. I think it's the fact that these two are so good at what they do, so good at making you care for them. I think it's the fact they've adverted your expectations. I think it's the fact that every single week you tune in, you see them just having a blast. And even if that particular segment wasn't for you, it makes you care about these two. Would I have it main event Wembley? That's to wait and see, in my opinion. I think, personally, if this feud manages to hit the landing and have the right ending, it's how you leave them, folks. This would be one of the greatest storylines AEW has ever told. Like, I'm talking Punk MJF levels. I'm talking Hangman Page to arc to the World Championship. Like, I feel like this storyline could be one of the greatest in AEW history because it's so unique, so creative, yet so fun and enjoyable. And personally, while this doesn't have the heat that maybe some great storylines have, I watch wrestling to escape. I watch wrestling as a means to an end to distract myself from how bad the world can be. And this storyline does that for me. This storyline is an escape. This storyline is what I love about pro wrestling, which is no matter how crappy the world gets for you or anyone, no matter how much stress you have, maybe your job, your school, relationships in your life, you have pro wrestling to look at, and this storyline has been so fun and so creative, and you want to see more. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I've been Cosk, and this was the Brilliance of MJF and Adam Cole, baby.